Hello, and welcome to the Ghost Town Chronicles. Today we continue our exploration across the United States. We will discover 10 abandoned military bases of Nevada, dive deep into their history, uncover their secrets, and finally understand what was the reason behind their abandonment. In the vast, arid landscape of central Nevada lies the legacy of Tonopah Army Airfield, a place where the skies were filled with the thunderous roar of B-24 Liberators and the dreams of young airmen preparing for the challenges of World War II. Established in 1942, Tonopah Army Airfield was one of many training facilities built to meet the urgent demand for skilled bomber crews. Over its brief but impactful existence, it became a cornerstone of America's air power, leaving an indelible mark on history. Tonopah Army Airfield was part of the Army Air Force's Training Command, a nationwide network of bases dedicated to preparing pilots, navigators, and crew members for the challenges of aerial combat. The airfield was equipped with runways, hangars, and barracks, all designed to support an intensive training program. At its peak, it was a hive of activity, with hundreds of cadets passing through its gates each month. The primary aircraft used at Tonopah was the B-24 Liberator, a heavy bomber known for its long range and heavy payload capacity. The B-24 was the perfect plane for teaching the fundamentals of flight, navigation, and bombing accuracy. For many young airmen, their first solo flight in a B-24 was a defining moment, a rite of passage that marked the beginning of their journey as bomber crews. One of the most remarkable aspects of Tonopah Army Airfield's history is its connection to the Doolittle Raiders, the legendary group of pilots who carried out the daring bombing raid on Tokyo in 1942. After the raid, several of the raiders were stationed at Tonopah, where they shared their expertise with a new generation of airmen. Their presence was a powerful reminder of the courage and innovation that defined American air power. As World War II drew to a close, the need for training bases like Tonopah diminished. In 1945, just 3 years after it opened, Tonopah Army Airfield was decommissioned. The airfield's facilities were transferred to the city of Tonopah, which repurposed the site for civilian use. The runways that once echoed with the sound of B-24 engines were now used for general aviation and crop dusting. Today, the legacy of Tonopah Army Airfield lives on in unexpected ways. The site is now part of the Tonopah Airport, a thriving hub for general aviation and flight training. The old runways and hangars have been replaced by modern terminals and infrastructure, but the spirit of innovation and determination that defined Tonopah remains. One of the most striking reminders of Tonopah's past is the Tonopah Historic Mining Park, which preserves artifacts, photographs, and stories from the airfield's wartime years. The park serves as a tribute to the men and women who trained at Tonopah and the local residents who supported the war effort. For veterans and their families, it is a place of remembrance and reflection, ensuring that the sacrifices made during World War II are never. In the stark, desolate landscape of the Nevada desert lies the legacy of Camp Desert Rock, a place where the U.S. military conducted some of the most controversial and groundbreaking experiments of the Cold War era. Established in 1951, Camp Desert Rock was a key site for nuclear weapons testing, serving as a hub for training troops and studying the effects of atomic explosions. Over its decade of operation, it became a symbol of America's nuclear ambitions and the complex ethical questions surrounding them. Camp Desert Rock was part of the Nevada Test Site, a sprawling complex where the U.S. government conducted over 100 atmospheric and underground nuclear tests between 1951 and 1992. The camp was designed to support Operation Desert Rock, a series of military exercises aimed at preparing troops for the realities of nuclear warfare. These exercises involved exposing soldiers to the physical and psychological effects of atomic blasts, as well as training them to operate in a post-nuclear environment. One of the most significant aspects of Camp Desert Rock's history was its role in the atomic maneuvers, a series of live nuclear tests conducted in the early 1950s. During these tests, thousands of soldiers were positioned just a few miles from Ground Zero, where they witnessed the devastating power of nuclear explosions firsthand. The tests were intended to study the effects of radiation, blast waves, and thermal energy on troops and equipment, as well as to develop tactics for surviving and fighting in a nuclear war. The most infamous of these tests was Operation Buster Jangle, conducted in 1951. During this exercise, soldiers were ordered to advance toward Ground Zero shortly after the detonation, simulating an assault on a nuclear battlefield. The psychological and physical toll on these troops was immense, and many later reported long-term health issues, including cancer and other radiation-related illnesses. These tests sparked widespread controversy and led to increased scrutiny of the military's nuclear testing programs. Camp Desert Rock also played a key role in the development of civil defense strategies. The data collected from the tests was used to create guidelines for protecting civilians in the event of a nuclear attack, including the construction of fallout shelters and the distribution of informational pamphlets. While these efforts were intended to reassure the public, they also underscored the terrifying reality of living in the nuclear age. As the Cold War progressed, the focus of nuclear testing shifted from atmospheric explosions to underground detonations, reducing the need for large-scale troop exercises. In 1957, Camp Desert Rock was officially decommissioned, and its facilities were absorbed into the broader Nevada test site. For the soldiers who trained there, the camp was a place of both awe and fear, a stark reminder of the destructive power of nuclear weapons. Today, the legacy of Camp Desert Rock lives on in the form of historical markers and memorials that honor the soldiers who participated in the tests. The site is also part of the Nevada National Security Site, where research and training continue to focus on nuclear safety and non-proliferation. For historians and veterans, Camp Desert Rock is a place of reflection, a reminder of the complex ethical and strategic challenges of the Cold War. Camp Desert Rock's story is one of innovation and controversy, a testament to the lengths nations will go to in the pursuit of security. From its days as a training ground for nuclear warfare to its current role in nuclear research, it has continually evolved to meet the needs of the nation. Its legacy is a reminder of the courage and sacrifice of those who served, as well as the enduring impact of their contributions on the broader history of the United States. In the rugged high desert of Nevada, along the banks of the Carson River, lies the legacy of Fort Churchill, a military outpost that once stood as a guardian of the American frontier. Established in 1860, Fort Churchill was built to protect settlers, secure trade routes, and maintain peace between Native American tribes and the growing influx of pioneers. Over its brief but impactful existence, it became a cornerstone of frontier defense, leaving an indelible mark on the history of the American West. Fort Churchill was established in response to the Pyramid Lake War, a conflict between settlers and the Paiute tribe that erupted in 1860. The U.S. Army constructed the fort to serve as a base for operations in the region, as well as to protect the vital Carson River route, a key pathway for immigrants traveling to California during the gold rush. The fort was named in honor of Sylvester Churchill, the Inspector General of the U.S. Army, and quickly became a hub of military activity. One of the most significant aspects of Fort Churchill's history was its connection to the Pony Express, the legendary mail service that connected the east and west coasts of the United States. The fort served as a relay station for the Pony Express, providing fresh horses and supplies for riders as they raced across the Nevada desert. The Pony Express operated for only 18 months, but its brief existence left a lasting legacy, and Fort Churchill played a crucial role in its success. Life at Fort Churchill was harsh and demanding. The soldiers stationed there faced extreme temperatures, limited supplies, and the constant threat of conflict. Despite these challenges, the fort became a self-sufficient community, complete with barracks, a hospital, a blacksmith shop, and even a post office. For many soldiers, Fort Churchill was a place of camaraderie and shared purpose, a small outpost where they forged lifelong bonds. As the American frontier expanded, the need for military outposts like Fort Churchill began to diminish. In 1869, just 9 years after it was established, the fort was abandoned. The buildings were sold at auction, and the site fell into disrepair. Over time, the adobe structures crumbled, leaving only ruins as a reminder of the fort's storied past. But Fort Churchill's story didn't end there. In the 20th century, efforts were made to preserve the site as a historic landmark. In 1932, the Nevada State Park System was established, and Fort Churchill was designated as one of its first parks. Today, Fort Churchill State Historic Park protects the ruins of the fort and offers visitors a chance to explore its history through interpretive exhibits, guided tours, and educational programs. One of the most striking features of the park is the Fort Churchill Cemetery, where soldiers and civilians who lived and worked at the fort are buried. The cemetery is a poignant reminder of the sacrifices made by those who served at Fort Churchill, as well as the challenges of life on the frontier. Fort Churchill State Historic Park is also a haven for outdoor enthusiasts. The park's location along the Carson River makes it a popular destination for hiking, camping, and birdwatching. The river's lush riparian habitat provides a stark contrast to the surrounding desert, creating a unique and beautiful landscape. In the vast, barren expanse of the Nevada desert, Yucca Flat stands as a stark reminder of one of the most dramatic and controversial chapters in American history. This unassuming stretch of land, part of the larger Nevada test site, became the epicenter of the United States nuclear testing program during the Cold War. From 1951 to 1992, Yucca Flat was the stage for over 900 nuclear explosions, both above and below ground, making it one of the most heavily bombed places on Earth. Yucca Flat was chosen for its remote location and predictable weather conditions, which made it an ideal site for testing nuclear weapons. The flat, open terrain, allowed scientists and military officials to observe the effects of nuclear explosions with minimal risk to nearby populations, though the long-term consequences for those exposed to radiation remain a subject of debate. The first test at Yucca Flat, codenamed Able, took place on the 27th of January, 1951, as part of Operation Ranger. This marked the beginning of a decades-long program that would shape the course of the Cold War. One of the most significant aspects of Yucca Flat's history was its role in the development of thermonuclear weapons, or hydrogen bombs. The Operation Ivy tests in 1952, particularly the Mike shot, demonstrated the devastating power of these weapons, which were thousands of times more powerful than the atomic bombs dropped on Japan during World War II. The data gathered from these tests not only advanced America's nuclear capabilities, but also fueled the arms race with the Soviet Union. Yucca Flat was also the site of numerous underground tests, which began in the late 1950s as public concern over radioactive fallout grew. These tests involved detonating nuclear devices in deep shafts drilled into the desert floor, theoretically containing the blast and radiation. However, some tests, such as the infamous Banbury test in 1970, released radioactive material into the atmosphere, raising questions about the safety and ethics of nuclear testing. The tests at Yucca Flat were not just about military strategy. They also had a profound impact on the local environment and communities. The downwinders, residents of nearby towns who were exposed to radioactive fallout, have long advocated for recognition and compensation for the health issues they attribute to the tests. Their stories are a sobering reminder of the human cost of nuclear experimentation. As the Cold War drew to a close, the need for nuclear testing diminished. In 1992, the United States declared a moratorium on nuclear testing, and Yucca Flat fell silent. Today, the site is part of the Nevada National Security Site, where research focuses on nuclear safety, non-proliferation, and environmental remediation. The craters and subsidence zones left by the tests serve as a haunting testament to the power of nuclear weapons and the consequences of their use. Yucca Flat's story is one of innovation and controversy, a place where science and strategy collided in the pursuit of national security. From its days as a testing ground for nuclear weapons to its current role in nuclear research, it has continually evolved to meet the needs of the nation. Its legacy is a reminder of the courage and sacrifice of those who served, as well as the enduring impact of their contributions on the broader history of the United States. Located on the border of Utah and Nevada, Wendover Air Force Base stands as a testament to one of the most consequential moments in modern history. Established in 1940, this remote base became a critical training ground for the U.S. Army Air Forces during World War II. Its isolation and expansive airspace made it an ideal location for testing new technologies and training bomber crews, but it is perhaps best known as the birthplace of the 509th Composite Group, the unit tasked with delivering the atomic bombs that ended the war. Wendover Air Force Base was initially built as a training facility for bomber crews, but its role expanded dramatically in 1944 when it was selected as the home of the Manhattan Project's aviation component. The base became the training site for the 509th Composite Group, an elite unit led by Colonel Paul Tibbets. The 509th was unique in that it combined both bomber and support crews, all working in secrecy to prepare for a mission that would change the course of history. The primary aircraft used by the 509th was the B-29 Superfortress, a state-of-the-art bomber capable of carrying heavy payloads over long distances. Wendover's remote location allowed the 509th to conduct extensive training without drawing attention. The crews practiced precision bombing, navigation, and the complex procedures required to deliver atomic weapons. One of the B-29 trained at Wendover was the Enola Gay, the plane that would later drop the first atomic bomb on Hiroshima. One of the most remarkable aspects of Wendover's history is its connection to the Manhattan Project, the top-secret program to develop atomic weapons. The base was one of the few places where the military and scientific aspects of the project intersected. Scientists from Los Alamos frequently visited Wendover to oversee the development of bomb delivery systems and to train the 509th on the unique challenges of handling atomic weapons. The secrecy surrounding these activities was so intense that even many of the base's personnel were unaware of the true nature of their mission. After the war, Wendover's importance diminished. The base was decommissioned in 1949, and its facilities were gradually dismantled or repurposed. For decades, the site lay largely abandoned, a ghostly reminder of its wartime significance. However, in recent years, efforts have been made to preserve and restore parts of the base as a historic site. Today, Wendover Air Force Base is home to the Wendover Airfield Museum, which preserves artifacts, photographs, and stories from the base's wartime years. The museum's exhibits include a restored B-29 and a replica of the Little Boy atomic bomb, offering visitors a glimpse into the history of the 509th Composite Group and the pivotal role Wendover played in ending World War II. The base's legacy is also reflected in the surrounding community. The city of Wendover, which straddles the Utah-Nevada border, has embraced its history, hosting events and tours that highlight the base's contributions to the war effort. The airfield itself is still in use, serving as a hub for general aviation and occasional military training exercises. In the rugged high desert of northeastern Nevada, Fort Halleck once stood as a small but vital military outpost during the settlement of the American West. Established in 1867, this remote fort was built to protect settlers, secure the Humboldt River route, and maintain peace between Native American tribes and the growing number of pioneers traveling through the region. Though it operated for only a few years, Fort Halleck played a key role in the complex history of the American frontier. Fort Halleck was named in honor of Major General Henry Wager Halleck, a prominent Union officer during the Civil War. The fort was strategically located along the central overland route, a critical pathway for stagecoaches, freight wagons, and emigrants heading to California. Its primary mission was to safeguard this vital route from attacks by Native American tribes, particularly the Shoshone and Paiute, who were resisting the encroachment of settlers on their traditional lands. Life at Fort Halleck was harsh and isolating. The soldiers stationed there faced extreme weather, limited supplies, and the constant threat of conflict. The fort itself was modest, consisting of a few wooden buildings, including barracks, a commissary, and a stable. Despite its small size, Fort Halleck became a hub of activity, providing protection and support for travelers and settlers passing through the region. One of the most significant aspects of Fort Halleck's history was its role in the Snake War, a series of conflicts between the U.S. Army and the Shoshone and Paiute tribes that lasted from 1,864 to 1,868. The fort served as a base for patrols and operations aimed at subduing Native American resistance. While the war ultimately ended in a U.S. victory, it came at a great cost to both sides, with many lives lost and traditional ways of life disrupted. As the American frontier expanded, the need for military outposts like Fort Halleck began to diminish. The completion of the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869 reduced the importance of the Central Overland route, and the fort's strategic value declined. In 1886, after less than 2 decades of operation, Fort Halleck was abandoned. The buildings were dismantled, and the site was left to the elements. Today, the legacy of Fort Halleck lives on in the form of historical markers and ruins that commemorate its role in the settlement of the West. The site is located on private land, but visitors can still explore the area and imagine what life was like for the soldiers and settlers who once called Fort Halleck home. From its days as a frontier outpost to its current role as a historical landmark, it has continually evolved to meet the needs of the nation. Its legacy is a testament to the courage and determination of those who served, as well as the enduring impact of their contributions on the local community and the broader history of the American West. In the rugged high desert landscape of northeastern Nevada, Fort Ruby once stood as a vital military outpost during the settlement of the American West. Established in 1862, this remote fort was built to protect settlers, secure the overland mail route, and maintain peace between Native American tribes and the growing number of pioneers traveling through the region. Over its brief but impactful existence, Fort Ruby became a cornerstone of frontier defense, leaving an indelible mark on the history of Nevada and the American West. Fort Ruby was strategically located in Ruby Valley, a lush oasis surrounded by arid mountains and desert. Its position along the overland mail route, a critical pathway for stagecoaches, freight wagons, and emigrants heading to California, made it an essential stop for travelers and a key target for raids by Native American tribes, particularly the Shoshone and Paiute. The fort's primary mission was to safeguard this vital route and provide a safe haven for settlers and mail carriers. Life at Fort Ruby was harsh and isolating. The soldiers stationed there faced extreme weather, limited supplies, and the constant threat of conflict. The fort itself was modest, consisting of a few log buildings including barracks, a commissary, and a stable. Despite its small size, Fort Ruby became a hub of activity, offering protection and support for travelers passing through the region. One of the most significant aspects of Fort Ruby's history was its role in the Goshoot War, a series of conflicts between the U.S. Army and the Goshoot tribe that erupted in the early 1860s. The fort served as a base for patrols and operations aimed at subduing Native American resistance and protecting the overland mail route. While the war ultimately ended in a U.S. victory, it came at a great cost to both sides, with many lives lost and traditional ways of life disrupted. As the American frontier expanded, the need for military outposts like Fort Ruby began to diminish. The completion of the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869 reduced the importance of the overland mail route, and the fort's strategic value declined. In 1869, just 7 years after it was established, Fort Ruby was abandoned. The buildings were dismantled, and the site was left to the elements. Today, the legacy of Fort Ruby lives on in the form of historical markers and ruins that commemorate its role in the settlement of the West. The site is located on private land, but visitors can still explore the area and imagine what life was like for the soldiers and settlers who once called Fort Ruby home. From its days as a frontier outpost to its current role as a historical landmark, it has continually evolved to meet the needs of the nation. Its legacy is a testament to the courage and determination of those who served, as well as the enduring impact of their contributions on the local community and the broader history of the American West. In the arid landscape of what is now North Las Vegas, Nevada, Kiel Ranch stands as a testament to the resilience and ambition of the early settlers who shaped the American West. Established in the mid-19th century, Kiel Ranch was one of the first permanent settlements in the Las Vegas Valley, serving as a ranch, trading post, and way station for travelers. Over its long and storied history, it became a cornerstone of the region's development, leaving an indelible mark on the history of Nevada. Kiel Ranch traces its origins to the 1850s, when it was founded by Mormon pioneers as part of their efforts to establish a presence in the Las Vegas Valley. The ranch was strategically located near natural springs, which provided a reliable source of water in an otherwise harsh and unforgiving environment. This made it an ideal spot for agriculture and a vital stop for travelers on the Old Spanish Trail, a historic trade route connecting Santa Fe, New Mexico to Los Angeles, California. One of the most significant aspects of Kiel Ranch's history is its connection to the Mormon mission to Las Vegas. In 1855, a group of Mormon settlers established a fort near the ranch as part of their mission to convert Native Americans and establish a self-sustaining community. While the mission was ultimately abandoned in 1857, Kiel Ranch continued to thrive as a center of agriculture and commerce. In the late 19th century, Kiel Ranch was purchased by Conrad Kiel, a German immigrant who expanded the property and turned it into a successful ranch and trading post. Under Kiel's ownership, the ranch became a hub of activity, producing crops, raising livestock, and serving as a gathering place for locals and travelers alike. The ranch also became known for its hospitality, offering food, shelter, and supplies to those passing through the area. However, Kiel Ranch's history is not without its darker chapters. In 1900, the ranch was the site of a tragic double murder, when Conrad Kiel's sons, Edwin and William, were killed in a dispute over the property. The murders shocked the community and marked the beginning of the ranch's decline. Over the following decades, the property changed hands several times and fell into disrepair. Today, the legacy of Kiel Ranch lives on as a site of cultural and historical significance. The property is now part of the Kiel Ranch Historic Park, which preserves the ruins of the original ranch buildings and offers visitors a glimpse into the past. The park features interpretive signs, walking trails, and a small museum that tells the story of the ranch and its role in the settlement of the Las Vegas Valley. Camp Winfield Scott was established in 1866 in the remote and rugged landscape of northern Nevada, near the present-day town of Paradise Valley. Named after Major General Winfield Scott, a prominent figure in the U.S. Army during the Mexican-American War and the early years of the Civil War, the camp was built to protect settlers, secure the overland mail route, and maintain peace between Native American tribes and the growing number of pioneers traveling through the region. The camp's location was strategically chosen to address the escalating tensions between settlers and the Northern Paiute tribe, who were resisting the encroachment on their traditional lands. The discovery of silver in the region had led to a surge in mining activity, which disrupted the Paiute way of life and sparked a series of conflicts known as the Paiute War, which lasted 8 years. from 1,860 till 1,868. Camp Winfield Scott became a key base for military operations aimed at subduing Paiute resistance and protecting the settlers and miners who had flocked to the area. One of the most significant events in Camp Winfield Scott's history was its involvement in the Battle of Owyhee River in 1866. This skirmish, part of the broader Paiute War, saw U.S. Army troops clash with Paiute warriors near the Oregon-Nevada border. While the battle itself was relatively small, it underscored the challenges of maintaining peace in a region where competing interests, miners, settlers, and Native Americans, were often at odds. The camp served as a staging ground for patrols and expeditions into Paiute territory, as well as a refuge for settlers fleeing violence. Life at Camp Winfield Scott was harsh and demanding. The soldiers stationed there faced extreme weather, limited supplies, and the constant threat of attack. The camp itself was modest, consisting of a few log buildings including barracks, a commissary, and a stable. Despite its remote location, the camp became a hub of activity, providing protection and support for travelers and settlers passing through the region. In addition to its military role, Camp Winfield Scott played a crucial part in securing the overland mail route, a vital pathway for stagecoaches, freight wagons, and emigrants heading to California. The camp's presence helped ensure the safe passage of mail and supplies, which were essential for the growing communities in the West. The overland mail route was also a lifeline for communication, connecting the eastern United States with the rapidly expanding western territories. As the Paiute War drew to a close in the late 1860s, the need for military outposts like Camp Winfield Scott began to diminish. The completion of the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869 further reduced the importance of the overland mail route, and the camp's strategic value declined. In 1871, just 5 years after it was established, Camp Winfield Scott was abandoned. The buildings were dismantled, and the site was left to the elements. Today, the legacy of Camp Winfield Scott lives on in the form of historical markers and ruins that commemorate its role in the settlement of the West. The site is located on private land, but visitors can still explore the area and imagine what life was like for the soldiers and settlers who once called Camp Winfield Scott home. Its legacy is a testament to the courage and determination of those who served, as well as the enduring impact of their contributions on the local community and the broader history of Nevada. Fort Baker has a rich and multifaceted history that spans over a century, reflecting the evolution of military strategy and the changing needs of the nation. Established in the late 19th century, Fort Baker was part of a network of coastal defense installations designed to protect the San Francisco Bay from potential naval attacks. Its strategic location at the northern edge of the Golden Gate made it a key component of the Bay Area's defense system. The origins of Fort Baker date back to the Endicott period, a time when the U.S. government invested heavily in modernizing its coastal defenses. In 1897, the site was officially designated as Fort Baker, named after Colonel Edward Dickinson Baker, a Union officer who was killed during the Civil War. The fort was equipped with some of the most advanced artillery of its time, including 12-inch disappearing guns and 3-inch rapid-fire guns, designed to repel enemy ships attempting to enter the bay. During World War I, Fort Baker served as a training ground for artillery units, preparing them for the battlefields of Europe. However, it was during World War II that the fort truly came into its own. As the threat of Japanese naval attacks loomed, Fort Baker became a critical part of the Bay Area's defense system. The fort's guns were upgraded, and new fortifications were added to protect against potential air and sea attacks. One of the most significant aspects of Fort Baker's history was its role in the San Francisco port of embarkation, a major hub for the shipment of troops and supplies to the Pacific Theater. The fort's location made it an ideal site for coordinating the movement of personnel and equipment, and its facilities were expanded to accommodate the increased demand. Thousands of soldiers passed through Fort Baker on their way to the front lines, and the fort played a crucial role in ensuring the safe and efficient deployment of forces. After World War II, Fort Baker's role began to change. Advances in military technology, particularly the rise of long-range bombers and missiles, made coastal artillery obsolete. The fort was gradually repurposed for other uses, including as a training center for the U.S. Army's 6th Army. The fort's facilities were modernized, and new buildings were constructed to support the changing needs of the military. In 1973, Fort Baker was transferred to the National Park Service as part of the newly established Golden Gate National Recreation Area. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in the fort's history, as it was transformed from a military installation into a public park. Today, Fort Baker is a popular destination for visitors, offering stunning views of the Golden Gate Bridge, hiking trails, and a variety of recreational activities. One of the most striking features of Fort Baker is its historic architecture, which includes a collection of well-preserved buildings from the early 20th century. These buildings, with their distinctive colonial revival style, provide a glimpse into the fort's military past and have been repurposed for modern uses, including a hotel, conference center, and educational facilities. Fort Baker's story is one of resilience and adaptation. From its days as a coastal defense site to its current role as a public park, it has continually evolved to meet the needs of the nation. Its legacy is a testament to the courage and dedication of those who served, as well as the enduring impact of their contributions on the local community and the broader history of California. Thank you for joining us today. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave if you enjoyed the video. See you next time for more Ghost Town Chronicles.